Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Southeast Florida Regional Climate Change Compact's 13th Annual Climate Leadership Summit. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm Megan Houston, the Director of the Office of Resilience for Palm Beach County, and we are honored to be hosting this year's summit. Over the next 2 days, we will be hearing from representatives at the county, state, and national levels, as well as other experts in the field of climate resilience and local youth concerned about the future of our communities. Together, we hope to gain new insights, build strategic connections, and create resilient solutions by sharing knowledge, showcasing climate action, and engaging leadership across sectors, as well as mobilizing the collaboration needed to tackle this significant challenge at scale. Today, each session and panel will have an MC guiding you through. Thank you to Jake Leach, Natalie Frenberg, Russell Paez, and Lauren Evans for helping me with MC duties throughout the day. During the regular panels, you are welcome to talk to each other in the chat windows of the attendee portal. And if you want to ask panelists questions later on today, please do so in the Q&A portal. You may choose to remain anonymous or type in your name for the Q&A. We will be starting off today with welcome remarks and our keynote addresses, followed by some great panel sessions. To start things off, I'm so excited to introduce Mayor Robert Weinroth of Palm Beach County. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mayor Weinroth.
Thank you, Megan. I certainly appreciate it. And good morning and welcome to the Southeast Florida Regional Climate Change Compact's 13th Annual Climate Leadership Summit, hosted by Palm Beach County this year. As Mayor of Palm Beach County, I want to thank you all for tuning in virtually. We're delighted to have you here with us over the next 2 days to focus on climate change, one of the most important local and global issues of our time. This compact is a regional partnership of Broward, Miami-Dade, Monroe, and Palm Beach counties, representing over 6 million residents and including 109 municipalities. This unique bipartisan partnership collaboratively responds to climate threats and increases community resilience through thought leadership and coordinated action. Each year, we come together at the Compact Summit along with other elected officials, government staff, and leaders from the business, nonprofit, academic, and youth sectors to share insights that inspire us to keep working toward ensuring a sustainable, thriving future for all of us. With the theme of seizing the moment together, this year's summit will share success stories that highlight the need for ambitious, comprehensive, and equitable action in South Florida to lower carbon emissions and adapt to climate impacts. Additionally, we will celebrate the cross-sector and interdisciplinary approaches of building resilient communities with experts from sectors including affordable housing, agriculture, finance, infrastructure, and environmental planning. We are truly all in this together. Palm Beach County has benefited greatly from cross-sector collaboration through the compact. And within our county, some of the projects we are most proud of include the LEED Gold certification. Palm Beach County achieved LEED Gold certification for cities and communities in 2020. This is a nationally recognized third-party certification led by the U.S. Green Building Council that demonstrates the county's commitment to and leadership in resiliency and sustainability. Resiliency and sustainability in county capital construction projects. Palm Beach County has a department manual that requires county capital construction projects to include resilience and sustainability principles in their planning. Green infrastructure. Palm Beach County is a leader in living shoreline projects. These green infrastructure projects along our coast protect seawalls against wave energy and storm surge and protect natural shorelines from erosion, all while providing habitats for birds, oysters, and fish. And my favorite, electric vehicle charging infrastructure. Palm Beach County is undertaking a pilot program to install electric vehicle charging equipment at 4 county locations for employee and public use. Palm Beach County's Palm Tran bus system has built electric vehicle charging infrastructure and will begin acquiring EV buses in the next few years. Palm Beach County is also pursuing electric vehicle infrastructure requirements and incentives for private development. We have once in a lifetime opportunity here to shape the future that we want, and we will continue to support a robust economy with good, clean energy jobs, high quality, safe, healthy buildings. We're going to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to reduce further impacts, measure and understand risks to make cost-effective investments to protect infrastructure and communities, help communities and businesses make informed decisions to protect themselves and their property from the changing climate, and ensure that we share the costs and benefits of climate adaptation and mitigation equitability. We have an outstanding lineup of speakers today. We'll hear keynote remarks from Brenda Mallory, Daniel Blackman, and Senator Bill Nelson. We are also honored to have State Senator Lori Berman and Representative Demi Busada Cabrera here today to share their perspectives from the legislature. And I'll be joined by my South Florida mayoral colleagues later on this morning to share more about how local leaders are advancing climate resiliency. As we close out day one, please make sure that you stay for the Mobilizing Millions, the Voices of Youth and Calls for Action panel this afternoon. I promise you, you will be moved by their stories of how climate change is impacting them and motivating them to respond to their recommendations. This year, we also have a large audience of high school and college students attending this summit. Thank you especially for showing strong support and leadership by joining us here today. We know you are relying on us, and we are relying on you to continue fighting for this planet. The state, nation, and world is watching and learning from us as we deal with sea level rise, more flooding, dangerously hotter weather, stronger hurricanes. We are and will continue to be a role model and leader for adapting appropriately while maintaining what we know and love about being here. To that end, I hope everyone comes and visits Palm Beach County and gets to appreciate all the wonderful experience we have to offer. Thank you for working with us for the betterment of our future. And now it's my pleasure to introduce my friend and colleague, Mayor Keith James from the good city of West Palm Beach. Keith?
Thank you so much, Mayor Weinroth, and good morning, everyone. As mayor of the city of West Palm Beach, it is my great privilege and honor to welcome you to the 13th annual Southeast Florida Regional Climate Leadership Summit. I'm so sorry we're not able to be together in person, but hopefully soon. A special welcome to the more than 600 attendees today who are part of the Southeast Florida Regional Climate Change Compact. Again, welcome. As we know, the compact is a decade-old partnership between Broward, Miami-Dade, Monroe, and Palm Beach counties. Its mission is to work collaboratively to reduce regional greenhouse gas emissions, implement adaptation strategies, and build climate resilience within their own communities across the Southeast Florida region. The compact represents over 6 million residents and includes 109 municipalities. The city of West Palm Beach is proud to be a longtime partner with the Climate Compact. South Florida critically needs continued, ambitious, comprehensive, and equitable climate adaptation and mitigation actions. It goes without saying that regional partnerships and collaborations are critical to the protection of our communities from the threat of climate change and toward building increased community resilience. Together, as communities comprising the Southeast region, we face many similar challenges and have many shared goals. Working together, we can address the matter quickly and effectively. Acting together, our communities have so much to gain. Now, the city of West Palm Beach is proud to be a leader in advancing sustainability and resiliency. We are committed to climate action. Let me share a few accomplishments. We've established a greenhouse gas reduction goal of net zero by 2050. And this year we signed on to the United Nations Race to Zero. West Palm Beach is certified silver for USGBC LEED for cities and communities. With the recent renewal submission, we hope to be certified LEED Gold in the new year. For the past 3 years, West Palm Beach has been A-rated by the Carbon Disclosure Project for Climate Action and Transparency. West Palm Beach is Department of Energy Better Building Challenge Goal Achiever and is continuing to reduce energy use in city operations. We are increasing the tree canopy throughout the city to encourage biking, walking, and to reduce the urban heat island effect. We continue to give away 1,000 trees to residents and businesses each year. The Department of Energy has recognized the city as Soul Smart Gold, and we became the first city in the state of Florida to provide one-day permitting for most solar installations. West Palm Beach is committed to transitioning our city fleet to zero-emission vehicles, and we have over 40 free EV charging stations in city garages. We are focused on water conservation and on protecting grassy waters preserve our water supply. We have a dedicated office spearheading all of these initiatives. The city's Office of Sustainability is led by Penny Redford, the city's manager of resiliency and climate change. I certainly wish to acknowledge Penny and her excellent team. So for more information about the City of West Palm Beach Office of Sustainability, visit our webpage at wpb.org or call the office at 561-804-4994. We always want to hear from you, and we are willing to share what we have learned along the way to help our friends and partners of the compact. So thank you again for joining us today, and enjoy today's program.
Thank you so much, Mayor James. We also wish everyone was in person this year together in West Palm Beach as originally planned, and we appreciate you being here with us today to share some of the great work that West Palm Beach is doing. We look forward to continuing our partnerships. Now it is my great honor to introduce our next keynote speaker, Chair Brenda Mallory, with the White House Council on Environmental Quality. She's the first African-American woman to serve in this position. She is also committed to addressing environmental justice and climate change challenges while advancing economic opportunities. Chair Mallory, welcome to the Climate Compact's virtual summit.
Excellent. Thank you, Megan. Thank you so much for inviting me to join. It's just such a pleasure and a privilege for me to sit on the same virtual panel as former speakers, both mayors Weinroth and James. I just want to say it is such a humbling experience to actually be able to hear from mayors who are doing such great work as we tackle this challenge of climate change. You're on the front lines, you're there having to deal with these issues, not in a theoretical way, not in anticipation of what might come, but on a day-to-day basis. And so I just think there's so much that we here in the White House can learn from folks who are on the front lines dealing with these issues. So it's just such a pleasure to be able to join you today. And your agenda is so robust over the next 2 days with great speakers who are lined up. So I'm honored to be here with you. We've had a busy fall at the White House. It's hard to believe that it was just a few weeks ago that the president signed the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act into law. And we are in full implementation mode at the White House and all across the government at this point. We know much of this implementation will be in hand with our partners at the state and local levels, including many of you. So I'll start today with a few highlights from the bipartisan infrastructure law. The bipartisan infrastructure law will enable us to strengthen our resilience to extreme weather and climate change, clean up toxic pollution, expand access to clean drinking water, remediate legacy pollution, deliver electric school buses to support clean air, and so much more. When coupled with the Build Back Better framework, these once-in-a-generation bills represent the single largest investment in climate and environmental justice in our nation's history. Our charge is to think broadly and inclusively about how to transition our energy sector in ways that improve the quality of all Americans' lives now and for decades to come. I will now focus on 3 priority areas for this administration: federal sustainability, environmental justice, and resilience. And federal sustainability, it's really exciting to be here the day after the president signed an executive order that sets the most ambitious and comprehensive sustainability agenda for the federal government in history. As the world's largest buyer of goods and services, the federal government has a significant role in shaping markets, creating jobs, and bringing innovative technologies to market. For more than 50 years, the federal government has led by example, pursuing procurement and sustainability policies to create and accelerate new markets for sustainable products and services. Under this executive order, major operating goals for the federal government include: first, 100% carbon pollution-free electricity by 2030. At least half of which will be locally supplied clean energy to meet a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week standard. Next, 100% zero-emission vehicle acquisitions by 2035, including 100% zero light-duty vehicle acquisitions by 2027. A net zero emissions building portfolio by 2045, including a 50% emissions reduction by 2032, and net zero emissions for overall federal operations by 2050, including a 65% emissions reduction by 2030. The EO further reinforces other presidential priorities, including Buy American, adaptation and resiliency, equity, and environmental justice. It's the first sustainability order to specifically address equity and environmental justice, consistent with this administration's priorities for its overall agenda. So I think that's a nice segue into our environmental justice work. President Biden has made clear that this administration will chart a new course, one that puts environmental and economic justice at the center of its work. At CEQ, we are working relentlessly to deliver on President Biden's commitment to a whole of government approach to advance environmental justice. Because of the first ever White House Environmental Justice Advisory Council and direct engagement with communities on the ground, I can proudly say that the Biden administration is adhering to this mission and ensuring that environmental justice is infused in our policymaking. A critical component of this work is the Justice 40 initiative. For the first time in our nation's history, the federal government has made it a goal to ensure that 40% of the overall benefits from federal investments in climate, clean energy, affordable and sustainable housing, clean transportation, and more flow to disadvantaged communities. In July, the White House published the Justice 40 interim implementation guidance, which relied heavily on rich recommendations provided by the White House Environmental Justice Advisory Committee. Through this guidance, we created the Justice 40 pilot program, which includes 21 programs across 9 federal agencies. These pilot programs will provide important lessons and best practices for implementation of the initiative that can then be applied to other programs and agencies. Since July, these pilots have been working on an expedited timeline to maximize the benefits of their covered programs to disadvantaged communities. In August, agencies with pilot programs submitted stakeholder engagement plans, a critical component of ensuring that communities are meaningfully involved in what constitutes the benefit of a program. And in September, these same agencies submitted their pilot program implementation plans and methodology for calculating program benefits. At the same time, all federal agencies with potential covered programs have been meeting the deadlines in the guidance. By mid-December, all agencies will have submitted a methodology for calculating benefits of their covered programs, as well as data on benefits and funding. The Justice 40 initiative has the potential to deliver tangible, real, on-the-ground benefits to disadvantaged communities. And we are working every day to advance and implement this historic initiative, including through the bipartisan infrastructure law. I will note the Justice 40 initiative seeks to change the very way that the federal government operates, an effort that takes time and coordination. We recognize as important, and we are working diligently to try to achieve the president's agenda. For this initiative to succeed, we will need to work together with Congress, local communities, tribal nations, stakeholders, and the public to ensure that every family in America shares the benefits of the cleaner and healthier future that is ahead of us. So finally, let me turn to resilience, obviously critical for this conference, and also a place where you know more than I can possibly say in this short time. But as I mentioned at the beginning of my remarks, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act makes the largest investment in resilience of physical and natural systems in American history. A few highlights of the $50 billion in resilience investments include, first, an $8.3 billion for water and drought resilience to fund things like water efficiency and recycling programs, rural water projects, and water smart grants. Second, a $12 billion investment for flood mitigation, including funding for FEMA flood mitigation grants, infrastructure investments to increase coastal resilience, and improving mapping and data so that households and businesses can better understand and protect themselves from future flood events. Next, $8 billion for wildfire risk reduction for community wildfire defense grants, mechanical thinning, controlled burns, the Collaborative Forest Restoration Program, and firefighting resources. The administration has formed 5 resilience interagency working groups, each focused on a particular climate-related issue facing the nation today. They include drought, wildfire, extreme heat, flood, and coastal resilience. We are also centering equity through our resilience efforts at the White House and working to ensure information is in the hands of those who need it the most in order to build community resilience. So let me close by saying, yes, we are doing a lot at the White House, but we cannot do it without you. Many of you at the state and local levels have led the way on climate action when the federal government was not acting. President Biden understands the crisis we are in with climate impacts. And he said this summer, after touring a community devastated by wildfires, this is a code red situation. So thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for being invaluable partners to us in the White House. And let's tackle this crisis together. We can and we must rise to the challenge. So I'm happy to answer a few questions.
Chair Mallory, thank you so much for those words. I'd like to touch on, first what you started to end with. So when we're talking about working together, how do you envision a strong partnership between the federal, state, and local governments? And then what efforts are needed to make fighting climate change truly collaborative?
Yeah, so I mean, that's just such a great and important question, but I think the key to it really is the communication and sort of an openness to understanding that the biggest impacts, as I was saying, on climate change don't care whether it's federal, state, or local jurisdictions. And so finding solutions that make sense and that people who are kind of closest to where the impacts are occurring really has to be a central part of the way in which we approach this challenge. One thing that we're doing at CEQ in our policy development is looking at what is working in the states and cities and how we can scale that at the federal level, how we can use our platform in order to sort of spotlight or highlight some of the great work that's being done in places so that other communities have the benefit of that knowledge. I recently traveled to Seattle, Washington, a city that is leading the way on building performance standards. And as we work to make federal policies, we are looking at what policy models are working best in states like Washington. But it isn't just the policy development, it also is the implementation. President Biden recently announced that former New Orleans Mayor Mitch Landrieu as the infrastructure coordinator to help implement the Infrastructure and Investment and Jobs Act. And it's not a coincidence that the president tapped a former mayor, someone who has worked closely on a number of the key issues, including climate change, and who actually can bring to bear experience on what the communities, the local governments are experiencing when we're trying to work with the federal government in getting funding, work with the federal government in achieving various goals, and is bringing that perspective to us. So I just think that the continuation of coordination and lifting up what's going on in the local areas is really an important part of the strategy.
Wonderful, thank you. And certainly I'll speak on behalf of the Climate Compact. We're a ready and willing local partner here too for everyone at CEQ. So thank you for highlighting a few of those initiatives. Related back to the environmental justice perspective, how is CEQ gathering input from environmental justice advocates, tribes, indigenous people, and ensuring that the input from these communities are reflected in the administration's environmental justice commitments?
Yeah, so again, a great question. And I think, a starting point when you look at President Biden, both what ultimately became the agenda for this administration from the campaign, where the issue of environmental justice and equity were really central components of the way in which he ran as a candidate. And one of the things that happened during the campaign is he gathered a group of experts, environmental justice experts and advocates from all across the country, and made them a central part of helping to identify what the platform should look like, and said to them at the time, and I have a number of them have said this to me personally and in settings that I was present, that he made the point then that I don't not only need you to sort of help lay out what a good plan is for a campaign, I need you to help us get it right going forward. And so it was no accident that in an early executive order, the president created the White House Environmental Justice Advisory Council, which is comprised of 26 environmental justice experts and advocates from across the country. And we call them the WEJAC members, lend incredible expertise on environmental justice and equity work, and provide us with recommendations on a whole host of policy initiatives. We received a very robust suite of recommendations from the WEJAC as a body back in May that covered a number of the priorities that had been identified for work that the Council on Environmental Quality would be doing, examining the previous executive order that had been done by the Clinton administration, creating and working on the development of a screening tool, and a number of those key items. But the recommendations went far beyond that and just addressed a number of issues that communities have felt in dealing with the federal government. So that continues to be a very important source of that connection of what the environmental justice communities are looking for. But more importantly, I think we're all out and traveling across the country and meeting with environmental justice community members, individuals, meeting with people in groups, every day. And every agency has really taken this on as an important component. Every agency, the leadership of every agency has really taken on this as an important component of what they are doing. So just as a couple of examples, I was in Detroit, Michigan in October and toured what's known as the most polluted zip code in the state. And during that time, we created basically a workshop, had a workshop there with members from across that community to really share with us kind of their priorities for their community and how we in administration could help. Similarly, Administrator Michael Regan just in the last couple of weeks did what he is calling like a EJ tour and traveled through the Southeast and met with a number of advocates and community members. And that information and those experiences really allow us to sort of come back to Washington. And as we're having conversations about specific policy matters, very much reflect on kind of what we're hearing from people on the ground. But more importantly, we have, I think, a connection for how to ground truth, what we think we heard, and what that looks like with folks going back. So I think those are kind of very important tools for both having an organized way of getting input, but also just taking advantage of the opportunity as we go around the country.
Wonderful. So important to do the ground truthing and learn from the experts in our communities. Thank you for touching on that. On another topic, we hear a lot about President Biden's whole of government approach to climate issues. Can you explain a little bit more about how that actually works and what that entails?
Yeah, I mean, I think the heart of the whole of government concept is just to recognize that every agency has a role in tackling the problem, whatever the problem is. So we use that language in particular when we're talking about climate change, when we're talking about equity, but mostly what it means is that, agencies, historically can often get very siloed around their own missions and thinking really just in terms of how they are operating and what is, what makes sense for that particular agency. And I think the idea behind emphasizing this whole of government perspective is to say, no, we think everyone has a role. Even agencies may think of EPA as being kind of a lead on environmental justice issues, but we think every agency has a role to play on environmental justice as they are thinking about their programs, as they are sort of assessing how to make sure that the programs that they're carrying out aren't exaggerating or exacerbating problems that are affecting communities on the ground. So more than anything, it is just to say, we all have a role, let's tap into it. From my perspective, for the agencies that are being called on to look differently at their mission than maybe they have or have practice on, I think that requires the White House, and CEQ definitely sees itself as playing this role, as helping the agencies to kind of define what does it mean to tap into your resources to meet these goals? What does it mean to tap into the way that you are engaging with the public so that it benefits the overall goal of the president? So I think mostly that's what it means. And one of the things that's I think has been so tremendous in this administration is the heads of all of these agencies are so bought into that idea that you hear them and you see them as they are interacting across their agencies, really, really emphasizing this need for the integration of the federal government in its work and in partnerships around these huge issues that can't be, they can't be handled by one agency alone.
Right, very good. And part of the theme, seizing the moment together is that recognition that this is cross-sector, everyone has a role to play, just like you were saying. So that resonates highly with what we're doing here today and the next day. So we're at time, but I wanted to give you a moment. Do you have any, thank you so much. And do you have any final thoughts before we pivot.
No wise thoughts, but to just say thank you all for like really the work that you're doing and the work that's going on all across the organizations who are participating in this. It is so important, and I think the opportunity to continue to partner with you is going to really lend real success for the effort. So thanks so much.
Thank you. And I'm sure we could talk all morning long if we had the time, and we really appreciate it. I want to thank Chair Mallory, Mayor James, and Mayor Weinroth for joining us this morning to kick things off and talk about how we are all working towards climate resilience. This was the perfect way to start off this two-day summit. And thank you to all of our participants who have joined today, and as well as our sponsors, the Compact Leadership Committee, and our local counties and municipalities for the support in making this Climate Leadership Summit a reality. We're now going to have a 10-minute break. I encourage you to use that time to check out the virtual exhibit booths to learn more about our sponsors and partner organizations. You can also check your registration email to order your Uber Eats lunch if you would like to do so and use your coupon. We are having lunch today sponsored by FP&L, and tomorrow's lunch is being sponsored by WSP. So thank you both for that. And if you were among the first 300 paid registrants, you should have gotten a bento box courtesy of Jacobs. Thank you, Jacobs. And there's some other goodies in there too. So make sure you check the whole components before you put that in the recycling bin. The next panel will be View from the Dais, Local Leaders Advancing Climate Resiliency. That's going to start at 10:45, and you will need to click out of this session and click back into that session. Again, thank you all so much. We really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.